Hello and welcome to Girl of Our Town. I am Amila and joining us today is the iconic Mr. Adrian Gardiner, who is the founder of the Shamwari Private Game Reserve, as well as the global Mantis collection. Mr. Gardiner, thank you so much for joining us on Girl of Our Town. How are you doing?
Well, Amelia, it's so nice to be here and for you to welcome me like that. And I just hope that I can make a contribution to your listeners. I look forward to our chat.
Oh man, so do I. And Mr. Gardiner, take us back to where it all started for you.
Well,
How?
first of all, I'm not Mr. Gardner. I'm Adrian. Mr. Gardner
Oh,
is my father.
alrighty, Adrian. That feels so. It feels so off, but I'll try. So, Adrian, how did it start for you? Take us back to how the journey of the man who changed the landscape began.
I think it was really to do with my upbringing. I was brought up in Zimbabwe.
Yes.
My father was involved in cattle ranches. And believe it or not, there were about five of them owned by an overseas company from the United Kingdom. And one of those ranches was 150,000 hectares.
Yes.
And within that ranch, we had our own private game reserve, or the ranch did. And we camped there quite often. And I suppose as a young teenager and early days, it really got into my blood. What Africa was about and what we should be so proud of, to be able to sleep out in the bush below the stars and hear these incredible animals. So I think that was in my blood. That's
Yes.
where it really came from to get me into something that I needed to do.
And if your younger self could see the accomplishments that you've done so far, what do you think he would say to you now?
Do some more.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Right?
And well, obviously is that there's quite a lot that when you say I've achieved, it couldn't be achieved without a team. We have
Hmm.
an incredible team. I mean, most of that team are still at Shamwari.
Yes.
If I look at the vet, Dr. Johan Jaber, the ecologist who started just as a game driver, and he's Dr. John O'Brien today, and the general manager Joe Clutie, and those people, they're still there. And we're
Mm.
talking 30 years later, 35 years later. So, that in itself is that whatever I achieved is because of the incredible team.
Yes. And what are the challenges that come with maintaining such a premium standard in all of your eco-conscious business ventures?
The challenges are, I'll give you a current example.
Yes.
Obviously, our ventures depend to a large extent on international tourists.
Yeah.
And most of the tourists that come to Quebec,
Hmm.
Port Elizabeth, are from Cape Town. Now, the flights from Cape Town since COVID are a drama. They
Yeah.
just, there's no early morning flights anymore. I think there's one a week, and the
Mm.
connectivity is really a problem. So those are the sort of things that really set us back when you think of the market that we are trying to get the price from and show them. Because believe it or not, that 80% of the conservation income comes into this country comes from America. So we need
Wow.
the international tourists to come and see what we're doing. And I just see how it changes their lives when they see what we did, what we
Mm.
turned drought, degraded, abused land into what it is today, and the species that we put back. The number of species that we have in the Eastern Cape are far more than anywhere else in Southern Africa. So this Kruger should have been here. When the 1820 settlers arrived, what did they do? All they were interested in is getting rid of what was here. And then I've been together with all the others that have followed what we've done to try and put it back.
Let's talk about the book, right? The Man Who Changed a Landscape, the Adrian Gardner story that was written by Dr. Dean Allen. What message do you hope that readers take away from that biography?
Thank you for that. Yeah, it actually goes back to the early years, where when I came to Port Elizabeth, believe it or not, in 1968.
Man.
And prior to that, as I said to you, my upbringing in Rhodesia as it was then, and then all the things that I've been through here, which is a lot before I got into. I only got really into the wildlifing when I was 50, so that shows you that I'm quite aged now, and it's a story that obviously reflects on. I've been very privileged to have the family that I have, and
Yes.
I really can thank my wife for that because I was working 7 days a week and all the rest of it. And she had to bring up the three children. They had great educations in the Eastern Cape here, and they're all part of the business in some way or another. Paul lives in London and he looks after our marketing there and that sort of thing. And he has an association with the famous Bear Grylls.
Yeah.
Murray runs our travel company. So I think you'll see there that there's quite a lot relevant to how the landscape was changed. So I'm hoping that if people read it, it'll inspire them to see what we can do. And the most inspirational thing that unfortunately I don't think I will see, but I really want Addo to stop calling themselves Addo Elephant Park, because although that's how they started, they now got the big five. They've followed us, so we should be Addo National Park. So just like there's Kruger National Park and all the people that trade off that brand, we need to trade off the Addo National Park. And, we need the Eastern Cape to become a really natural nature destination for Southern Africa. Yes. And it can happen. And all we have to do is, and we're working very hard with the Wilderness Foundation, which was started by Dr. Ian Player, and he really changed my life. And I think to an extent, we became like elder brothers, and I got him to move his foundation here, which is run today by Andrew Muir, who's done a hell of a successful job here. Yeah. And we're trying to create a corridor between Plettenberg Bay and Graaff-Reinet. So we will be bigger than the Kruger Park. But, we need those endorsements for it to happen. And that's what really I go into the book in quite a big way, is that our success has been because of the people that endorsed the work that I was doing. A lot of my neighbors laughed at me and said it could never happen, and it wouldn't happen. But, if I hadn't have had people like Dr. Ian Player and all the film stars that came and really wanted to see what was going on, this journey couldn't have happened. So the book sort of encapsulates all those, I think, nice chapters in my life and the chapters of the people that made it possible, as I keep on referring to, my family and the team.
Right. And sustainable tourism, Adrian, is often a delicate balance, right? How, or rather, what guidelines do the Mantis collection abide by so that it doesn't affect the natural resources?
Well, I think if you take the Mantis name, which came from the praying mantis, and we created an acronym, man and nature together is sustainable. Now, just I think Dr. Ian Player taught me this, and your question really, I think, is a good one. But sustainable tourism is not going to happen unless we get community involvement. And I think that we've started a little reserve just between Port Elizabeth or Quebec and Kareka called Noisy, which is right next to Wedgwood. And there we rewild animals. So we will have the first game reserve between two cities or within two cities in the world. Nice. Whereas, New York is Central Park, London's Hyde Park, or whatever they are. We've got a game park that we will have, and we've been very successful with rewilding cheetahs, and there's big community involvement there. So we're trying to get this whole delicate thing about how do we really embrace the communities. But if the communities realize the value of what we're doing and the employment we create, then we will be a success. Yes. Just quickly to give an example, when we put the 15 odd farms together to create Shamwari, there were about 14 people employed. Today, between Shamwari and Founders Lodge, which is the Mantis Lodge, adjacent to Shamwari and where it all began. So if you're coming to the Eastern Cape, that's where you should go and see where it all began, at Founders Lodge. Yes. But to relate to the people employed, that we employ over 500 people against the 15, and add the multiplier effect of that, the transport, the airline tickets, the food, the booze, everything else that goes with it. So, Founders, fortunately, Shamwari allowed us to have traversing rights over Shamwari, and it's very small and intimate, but that's where it all began. So if you really want to understand the Eastern Cape, how it was changed, and to see the museum and all the people that have supported us, please go to Founders Lodge.
And Mr. or rather Adrian, what is your go-to leadership style considering these impeccable accolades under your belt?
I think it's leadership is really, I use one word for it, it's by example.
Yes.
Set the example. And I promise you that I wouldn't have got all the accolades that I got, which I think should be shared with everybody else, because none of them could have happened without the team. Yeah. But, it's really the example that you set and the encouragement that you give. So when you're successful, you need to just encourage people and tell them, that they've done a good job and we can make this even better. But you can't do it, like rugby. I mean, why are we so successful at the moment? Because of the team. So you got to have a captain. I
Yeah.
understand that I'm captain of the team. And then I always call the leadership of that captain above me is the endorsements that I got, like Dr. Ian Player, Sir Lawrence van der Post, all the film stars that came, Brad Pitt, and, Tiger Woods got engaged there and he
Oh,
created
nice.
havoc for me. But, those are the sort of things that are above that make this thing happen. And we can make this province into
Yeah.
the leading province for not only conservation, but community work. And I think, we started the university called Stendon
Yes.
in Port Alfred. It's the only university in the world where you can do a semester in your degree on conservation, wildlife management, and a little bit of lodge management. And we're moving the campus of that, it's moved to Noisy. So you will do
Oh.
your semester there. So, and it's a very popular course. Believe me, they come from all over the world to do that course. So let's make it happen.
And we can make it happen.
Well, with interviews like this and the people listening,
Yes.
please, the Eastern Cape can really be something. And I always use the example. And I spoke to our premier and I said, please do me a favor. Why don't you come with me to Rwanda? Rwanda's got 12 million people.
Yes.
We've got 8 million people. There's not a piece of plastic there. Every person's got a title deed. I know it's had some degrading things about it lately, but the way they run that country, the other day, the president was driving from one of our hotels there to the one in town, and there was a plastic bottle on the road. The whole car lot stopped. Guess who got up and picked the bottle? The president. He picked it up. So the example is what I'm saying to you, is that what makes leadership. And we can be the example of how to run a province in our wonderful country.
And now, Adrian, what misconceptions have you heard about wildlife conservation as well as ecotourism that you feel like are greatly misunderstood?
Well, I'll give you the example that this is not a misunderstanding. This is, to me, something quite terrible. Do you know that we have 8 million lions in captivity in South Africa? Do you know we only have 3,000 lions in the wild?
Wow.
Sorry, 8,000 lions in captivity, not 8 million.
Yeah.
8,000 lions in captivity, 3,000 lions in the wild. You know why they're in captivity? For their bones, which they export, and for canned lion hunting. Now, we're very involved with the government, with the ministerial task team, to try and put a stop to this, because this is not what we want to be proud of. It's something that is disgraceful. And we should really acknowledge that our wildlife is an asset that nobody else in the world has. So we can really make it into something that the world wants to see. And we've got to do that properly and with proper leadership. And people have got to stop doing these abominable things.
Right. Now, Adrian, before I do let you go, because it is time, I do have one thing to say to your friend that called you crazy when you started. What does he have to say to you now?
Yeah, there weren't one, there were many of them. And they were the farmers next to me. And, I think the best example of that is, when I reintroduced the oxpecker,
Yes.
it hadn't been here for a long time. I had to go to these farmers to change their dips for their cattle, because what was in that tick would kill the oxpecker. And they'd seen now what happened. We'd already had elephant in, we'd had the lions in, we had the giraffe in. And when I let the oxpecker go, they went straight for the giraffe. The giraffe got more of a fright than anything else because they'd never seen this anywhere. And then these people started to realize that, I think the biggest realization that they came to was, that the value of their land has probably gone up 100 times, at least 50 times, from changing from cattle and sheep into wildlife. Otherwise, why would there be 15 or 16 other wildlife destinations here?
Yeah.
Their values have changed. So, it's quite phenomenal what's happened. But now we need to get them all together and make one big showing here, and to show people that our province can be what it should be.
Right, Adrian, thank you so much for joining us on Girl of Our Town. We truly appreciate your presence in today's show. We truly have learned a lot as well, so thank you.